It's very rare that a new plugin company comes along and grabs my attention, but when I saw the legendary James Dexter started his own plugin company, I knew I had to check them out. If you don't know who James Dexter is, then where have you been within the minimal deep tech scene? He runs his own record label, Inerma Records, which is a fantastic deep tech label, and his music has been supported by renowned DJs all over the world, like Michael Bibby in this clip here. With his signature tight and snappy drums and infectious bass lines, I knew these plugins were ones to not avoid. So in today's video, we're going to check out all 7 Stemcellz plugins. So let's get into Ableton, make a groove using these plugins, and put them to good use. Okay, so now we're inside Ableton, we can do a deep dive on the Stemcellz plugins. First off, I just want a quick disclaimer. This is not a paid advertisement, so I can do what I like and say what I like with these plugins. That being said, I truly believe in James's vision with these plugins, and I think they really are going to change my workflow and yours too. So the first few that we're going to have a look at are part of the drum bundle. So these ones are genuinely going to change my workflow for the good. For those that know, I'm a big fan of having a template that increases your efficiency as a producer, and that typically means having drum racks full of individual drum sounds for your kicks, claps, and hi-hats, and so on and so forth, all in one place and filtered through so they're super high quality to speed up your workflow. With these plugins, it kind of does it for you, and it gives you some extra tools to then fine-tune the samples as well. So with Hadoop, we have a variety of kicks to choose from, so 50 in total, and then we have some basic parameters to adjust, such as a low boost, which warms up the low end, a release to shorten the kick and help it fit better in the groove, or give it a bit more of that sort of boom and elongated feel. Sonic boom, which is some kind of inflator, whether that's saturation or compression, I'm not too sure. And then a cutoff to then roll off the high end of the kick, so then you get that more deep and dubbier vibe to the kick. Already, I've found preset number 7 with some micro adjustments on the parameters. Sounds amazing to begin with. That's pretty much what I always look for in all my kicks. But if you're looking for anything else, there's 50 to choose from. So let's go to 15. So with that one with the low boosted, it sounds much nicer and probably a bit longer release on this type of kick. That one's got a nice weight to it. That one's nice if you wanted that more top end. And that one's got that real kind of tech housey sort of thump to it. But let's go back to number 7, the one I was feeling at the beginning. Moving along, we have Clapman. So Clapman takes the same fundamental principles of Hadoop, but is just for primarily claps. So I believe we have 30 claps and then 10 snares in this one. And we have some of the parameters changed out. So we actually have a reverb and a delay stutter effect built in. For those of you that have watched a lot of my videos, you know I'm a big fan of these tape delay claps, and having a plugin with that all built in is great. Then we have the sustain, which is effectively just replacing the release of Hadoop to shorten the claps and make them fit better dependent on the groove that you've got on the go. So this is a clap I found. But like the Hadoop, we can change this out really easily. So I'm really liking that one. And then the built-in reverb is really nice because it's a nice short drum reverb. I would have personally liked to decay with this as well, seeing as we had 2 for the stutter and the feedback on the tape delay effect. It would have been nice to have a decay with the reverb, but nevertheless, it still sounds really good. So those of you that wonder what the stutter and feedback settings sound like, I've got them up to about 50% on each, and it sounds a bit like this. Hatman's up next, and you can imagine it's got the same basic kind of features as before. Now, basic doesn't mean bad. I actually really like these kind of simplistic plugins because it means a wide variety of people can use them, and it just makes it nice and quick and easy for your workflow point of view. Then we also have the choice of closed hi-hats, open hi-hats, and top hats within the plugin as well. So you have a nice variety, and it's not just one type of hi-hat. Now, because all the samples from these are coming from the plugin itself, it typically means that they haven't been pre-processed or fiddled with too much. For example, if you think about a sample pack is being made by someone to sound as good as possible to sell to you. And typically, as well, sample packs are just stripped down samples from another sample pack. And because of that, you often get this over processing on samples and it ruins that authentic nature of a sound. And I found since using all of these stem cell ones, especially the drums, they just have that more organic, kind of natural analog sound to them. Then moving across to the last drum plugin, which is Wonky Toms. Now, this is just like the previous, but primarily used for toms. I didn't think I was going to get much use from this one until I started flicking through some of the presets. And there's some really nice sounds in here that are toms, but you can use them in other ways, in creative ways that I've previously done earlier, which I'll show you. But let me just show you a few of the samples. So there's a nice variety of sort of deeper, kind of more mellow toms, and then those typical drum sounding toms as well. The low end from all of the toms as well is so warm that you could probably get away with using this as a bass line as well if you wanted to. And what I was playing around with earlier is the combination of Wonky Toms and some of the other drum plugins that we've previously looked at with RC20. And I think the combination of these two is absolutely lethal because we have the great original samples from Wonky Toms with some basic kind of adjustments within the plugin. And then we have RC20 to then really manipulate the sound and give us that fine-tuning ability to whether that's distortion, adding a bit of sort of movement with the wobble or the magnetic feature, and then adding that kind of bit crushing effect with digital or changing through some of the presets to get more of a vintage kind of sound. And then from that, I actually made this preset sound a bit more like this. Which I thought sounded like a really unique and kind of cool top bass, which then segues us nicely on to probably my favorite one out of the bundle, which is Yellow Sub. So Yellow Sub is going to be, I think, your new best friend as a minimal deep tech producer. Pretty much all the tracks that we like within this genre have that dark and deep rolling sub bass. And one of the main questions I get for all the tuition and just even in my DMs is how you get that warm, fat, low end sub. And before this, I would always recommend sub boom bass. But now I think I'm going to recommend Yellow Sub. It takes the same ideology as the drum bundle with some basic parameters to adjust, such as attack, release, or drive. So attack, giving it that longer fade in time, release, giving it that shorter fade out time so we can fit and manipulate it to fit in our grooves better. Drive for a bit of distortion, and then gain to kind of gain stage everything. 50 presets within Yellow Sub, similar to the other ones, and there are so many great sounding subs in here. So let me just play this one out without that top bass I made earlier. So let's just flick through some of the different presets. Some are really low down. Some sound more like a saw wave. Some sound more sine based, which is nice to have that variation. And I think the combination of having a EQ or a filter after it is definitely needed to get those sort of deeper rolling sub basses. Let's go back to one that I was using earlier, which I believe was 14. And then with that top bass I made from Wonky Toms. Already having a really nice groove with those ones there. And moving on to the next one, which is Respaces, and you guess what that's for? It's for lots of Respaces. So if you're into more of those garagey sounds, this one is a must. Same principle with the parameters: attack, release, cut off, and a drive. And then we have 50 presets to play around with. I've added a chorus onto this because I like mine Respace is nice and wide. And because we've already got that Yellow Sub in there doing the low end work, I've put a EQ cutting the low end off. But you don't have to do that. the low end from this Respace plugin is so good. Both Yellow Sub and Respace have this really nice bottom end, sort of at 0 to 100, maybe sort of 200 range, where it just sounds really full and warm. And we also have some really good presets in here too as well. If you want to go for that nice deep vibe. But for this track, I actually wanted it to sound more like a synth. So I rolled off that low end and then I had it like so. And it was playing more as a bass tonal hit. Then last up on the list is Symphonator. So this is the kind of all-purpose synth out of a bundle. I have left it last for a reason. I think all the other ones are so strong. This one just falls a little bit short. Maybe I was anticipating a little bit too much because James is known for those kind of deep, luscious chords and pads. And I was hoping this plugin was going to be full of those. But unfortunately, it's not. So I hope James is working on those ones in the background. But nevertheless, it's still got some cool sounds in here. So we have 50 sounds to choose from. It would have been nice to have maybe these ones named as well, seeing as there's more variety between stabs, plucks, and more bass hits in here. But that doesn't really matter because we can still find some nice sounds. That one's pretty cool. So as you can see, there's still some really wicked sounds here that can spark a lot of inspiration. You just got to do a bit more digging for them compared to the rest of the bundle where it's very workflow efficient in my opinion. So that is the end of today's video. I hope you found that one useful. Remember, we are supporting another producer here, so we know the money is going to a good place, not just some massive plugin company. Anyways, I will see you in another video.